Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we're going to be talking about getting ready for retirement. So what do you need to know about retirement? One of those, people are living longer. This is one of the big statistics that, how things have changed. When we look at Social Security when it first started in age 65, a lot of people weren't even living to 65 at that point, so it's changed dramatically now. Life expectancy, in fact, in the U.S. has increased by 30 years since 1900. Even in that, a lot of that just since Social Security. In fact, you can speed that forward about 40 or 50 years and still see this big difference in terms of how long people are living compared to before. Outliving savings then becomes a top concern for those approaching retirement. Proper planning can help alleviate these fears. One of the things when it comes to worrying about running out of money, the reason for that, of course, as we're living longer, but also the other risks that we have in retirement, market risks, inflation, these things become even medical costs, healthcare costs. These become even bigger concerns the longer we live. The longer we live, the more likely we're going to have more expenses as far as healthcare. The more, of course, we need to make on our money. The more we're concerned about inflation and the effect it'll have on our savings. So this is one of, inflation is like the silent killer when it comes to your finances, right? They talk about high blood pressure being the silent killer. Well, when it comes to finances, it's inflation, because this is one of those that, if you're not making enough to stay ahead of inflation on your money and keep up with your distribution rates, you're going to find that your savings start to dwindle over time. So what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Now, this is one of those. This is kind of a generic, approximately 78% of your pre-retirement income is needed to maintain your current lifestyle. In reality, and they base that on certain things like taxes and other things, but the reality is, because healthcare costs are higher and other factors, I find a lot of times that we see the income needs can be even greater in retirement, or as high as what they were pre-retirement. So a lot of that we get into when we do proper planning is we're making sure, in fact, that whichever your situation is, whatever the needs are, that we've got a plan in place to make sure that we can take care of that. Consider your expenses. The average mortgage debt is $70,000, and this is one of the reasons they use this generic number, is they're saying, well, you're going to pay off your debts. You're not going to have to pay payroll taxes anymore. Things like that can impact how much money you're going to need. The average of $7,700 per year is spent on travel. One of the things when it comes to our ideal situation is to have no debt when you reach retirement or when you go into retirement, or at the very least, if you have a mortgage, that we've got a plan for how we're going to pay that off, and that there may be offsetting assets. I have a lot of times with clients where, they have such low interest rates on their mortgage, and they've got the money that we could pay it off at any time, but there's some advantages potentially to just pay it out over time, because that low interest rate, we'll probably never see those again. I've got clients that are coming in with 3.5% mortgage rates, extremely low. They're making more on their money than they're paying. Therefore, what's the hurry, right? That interest rate is not going to change. It's not going to go up, and yet the money actually they're making on their money could, in fact, increase even further. So they're just making money on that money, and it'll get paid off over time. So what does retirement mean to you? 57% of American workers plan to work past the age of 65. So we're going to go forward about two. There we go. All right. Now think about, this is one of the areas too I see more and more frequently, and I'm one of those. I would never want to retire. I really enjoy what I do. I love my work. Now I may want to work a 3 or 4 day week as opposed to a 5 or 6 day week or something, but this is one of those areas that I see more and more of, is with clients coming in, people that are doing teaching, they're doing consulting, they're doing any number of things where they may leave their one job and take on a part-time thing that they really enjoy doing, or they may enjoy their work. They retire from one hand and come back as consultants. So there's any number of ways that they tend to work in retirement. Maybe they just, go ahead and extend out that period and delay retirement until age 70, both for benefits of Social Security, for maybe pension benefits, or just for that extra income and ability to save up. So again, for each person it's different, but we are seeing more and more people working in retirement. Another is 54% plan to work at least part-time, and that's what I was just talking about as well. I've got a number of teachers, for instance, that do that, where they now, maybe teach at junior colleges or college level, but they're only doing maybe a couple of classes a week, so it gives them the ability to stay in it, make a little money, they enjoy that activity, they enjoy being around. I remember one lady in particular said that she loved being around, the younger people, and it kept her sharp and kept her mind active, and she enjoyed that tremendously. Currently, 30% of 65 to 69-year-olds are employed. Think of that. This is, this has a lot of implications, both with regard to potentially with Social Security, but in those decisions, if you're going to work, past your, in particular, working 62 to 66 to 7, your full retirement age, there are certain factors there. We'll get into that. But think of that, 30% now working in that 65, 69. Of course, we're healthier, we're living longer, we're taking better care of ourselves. This is another factor there. So main income sources in retirement. One of them is pensions. And again, only 18% of Americans now have pensions. So that number, and it's been shrinking in terms of, how many people that are going to have a pension. Social Security, and I think the number we'll get into, but I think it's something like 40%. Makes up at least 40% of income in retirement, if not more. And again, this depends on your individual situation. Deferred comp plans. Now, there's your 401k, a 403b, 457. These are all types of deferred comp. In addition to TSP, Thrift Savings Plan, that's another form of deferred comp plan for military and federal employees. Part-time work is another area that we get into. And of course, on retirement accounts, we talk deferred comp, but also IRAs, SEP IRAs, that type of thing as well. Roth IRAs, Roth 401k. So there's any number. And talking about the differences there, this is another area. When people ask about Roth, the tax-free benefits that go with having a Roth, but then you're passing on current benefit, current tax benefits. In other words, we're not going to have the write-off, but if you anticipate that taxes may be higher in the future, there could be some, especially for your situation, that could be better. Now, if you've got a high income and your income is going to go down quite a bit in retirement, and it may be the opposite for you. You may want to take that deferred now because you'll be paying it out at a lower rate later. But Roth is another area, and we look at Roth conversions, if that makes sense as well. All right, pensions and Social Security may not be enough. This is another area when it comes into savings. Pensions, again, are available only about 20%. It's actually about 18% of employees. Social Security accounts for about 40% of what you'll need. Deferred comp plans, they're becoming the largest income source, right? In other words, it's, again, how much you're saving for retirement in these retirement plans, and that's going to be the biggest source of where you're going to draw income from in retirement, and that's increasingly the case. Do you have a tax plan? This is another part of that. When it comes to deferred comp plans, how are you going to minimize taxes on those income when you're taking it out of those retirement plans? Because remember, you put it in, it's growing, you get that big tax benefit. You don't have to pay tax on the money when you put it in. It grows tax deferred. Only when you then start taking it out, of course, then it's taxed, and it's taxed at the highest income tax levels, so ordinary income tax levels. There's no qualified dividend or capital gains treatment of those earning of the money you're taking out of a retirement account. So understanding how that works is extremely important. If you have company stock, understanding about NUA, net unrealized appreciation, how that can be used to minimize taxes. There are a lot of different strategies that can be utilized to minimize taxes in retirement when you're pulling money out of those accounts, and this is so critical to understand how this works. I had a client call me just yesterday, and we were doing some work for her. One of the areas where they're going to be pulling some money out, and we're determining how to do that. In particular, at the end of the year, it's a great time to be looking at these things, because in this situation, we're going to divide this money up. The amount that she needs to take out, we're going to divide some up for December and some in January, split it between 2 tax years. That saved her about $3,000 in taxes over taking it out in 1 year. That's the type of planning, determining before you make a decision, is this the right way to do it? This is what we want to do. This is our goal. We need to take out, X amount of dollars. What's the best way to do that to minimize taxes and fit with our planning? So that's part of it. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll give you another opportunity, of course, for the first 10 callers. Be standing by. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Join me here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.
The time has come to enjoy your golden years, but have you saved enough?